Welcome back to Fight Capital, where we step into the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rappaport. Today I'm joined by Nick Heiler. Nick serves as the marketing director for Cage Titans, which is a prominent organization out of Massachusetts and is known for its dynamic approach to promoting fights and its high-quality athletes. Under Nick's guidance, Cage Titans has implemented innovative strategies that have significantly boosted its presence, and his efforts have played a crucial role in elevating the brand and ensuring its fighters get the best visibility they deserve in this competitive industry. Thanks for being here tonight, Nick. How are you and where are you joining from?
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that intro. That might have been the best intro I've ever heard about myself. That's really nice. I'm a big fan of yours as well and a lot of the podcasts that you've done. And I'm coming to you live from the basement studio. This is actually my dad's recording studio. My family's upstairs. I put on a movie for him. There's food up there, brownies and ice cream. So I got a little bit of time to talk with you about some fight stuff.
Appreciate it, man. Well, hey, I know you spent time in music and production. I'm just curious, how'd your career lead to you becoming the marketing director at Cage Titans?
Wow. Well, to kind of take it back, my dad's studio here, it's all hockey and music in here. I grew up just a hockey player, and I wanted to be in sports journalism, so I ended up trying to play college hockey and go into sports journalism, but it didn't really kind of work out for me like that. So when sports kind of fell out for me, I had music, and I just decided to drop out of college and just jump full-time into the music industry. A 19-year-old kid should do. That's a totally smart decision to drop out of college and to join the music industry with absolutely no prior experience. So I kind of just dove in, and of course I just went in. I want to be a rock star. I want to be a superstar DJ. But through that, I ended up finding an internship at record labels, at different parties, and I found the business side of music actually much more fun. And it was weird because at the time you're doing things and you don't know how important they're going to be to you later. But I started this around 2010. And this is when all the social media platforms were just starting to gain their prominence as a means of promoting yourself. You didn't have to go through the old means of radio, television, flyering. You could have this endless audience through social media. So I remember setting up some of the first Instagram accounts. I remember literally hacking Facebook to put videos of our parties and our stuff onto Facebook when they weren't hosting videos. I remember this is actually kind of shady. We made a ton of fake Twitter accounts to engage with us, and we built massive followings off of that really early on. We just had a crash course in social media because it was wide open. It was the Wild West, and we just learned how to do that. So with the idea of going in the music industry, I thought I was going to be a musician. I ended up becoming a promoter. I ended up becoming a photographer, a videographer, and just adding all these different skills to the music industry. And then around the time my daughter was born, I just couldn't live a music industry lifestyle anymore. I was out all the time. I was never sleeping. And it just wasn't really healthy. And so I kind of made the family decision to be, well, I have all these skills in social media. Maybe I apply them to something else. What else do I like? Well, the only sport I hung on to, I was a sports kid growing up, but I don't watch sports like that anymore. All I watch is fighting, because in between hockey, what happened was my brother, he has a big part in me coming to Cage Titans too. My little brother took me to Y Crew, and we started doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. I used it as cross training for hockey, and then I ended up falling off of hockey so much because I fell in love with Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And he ended up saying, I'm not playing hockey when I'm going back. I'm going to be a wrestler. And then he took that to college wrestling, into an amateur wrestling. Now he's a brown belt at Atos Jiu-Jitsu under Andre Gavallo. So he's really stuck with it and done a lot in the fight industry because of that. And yeah, I was like, okay, I want to find something in MMA too. I started at Lozon MMA with Joe Lozon when he was training there, fresh out of college. It's like, all right, you're going to get your first fight. Where's your first fight going to be? Cage Titans. All right, I've never been to that show. Let's go check it out. I go for his amateur fight. I step into the hall for the first time, and I was just sold immediately. When I saw it for the first time and I got the whole experience, it's like, okay, like I said, I come out of the music industry. I run arenas, every venue you can think of. I've seen all types of different shows and acts. Cage Titans to this day stands as one of the best live shows you could ever see. The atmosphere in the hall, the way that it's set up, and the gladiator feel that you can't really recreate. I was just like, all right, I want to put it all into this. But at the time, they weren't really looking at me like that. I went off and it's like, okay, I'll go and try to find other work. I ended up working at UFC Fight Pass doing boxing and other mixed martial arts promotion. From there, I ended up going to Reebok Combat and starting doing some stuff with them. At the time the UFC deal was ending, but got to work with the UFC and Reebok at a time where they were still like kind of very tight. So that was a lot of great experience and insight. And then from there, I went to Malcolm Media, where I was doing the social media for Morning Combat with Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell. And I was working with the tail end of Below the Belt with Brendan Schaub. Hey, Brendan Schaub, happy retirement. I'm not making fun of you, dude. I really do want you to go spend time with your family. You're a good dad. Go be a great dad. Thank you for everything you did for us. Appreciate it. And then when that all ended, I took all that experience and I went back to Mike and be like, I have all this. I want to bring this to Cage Titans. You have, I think, the best brand that nobody knows about in combat sports or doesn't know it to the level that they should know it. I want to bring all of this marketing experience I have and apply it to what you do, because Cage Titans was also very forward in their marketing before, but like I said, they were in the old means of doing things, not necessarily social media focused. So then after pandemic, they said, all right, let's run it. Let's go. And then it's been a 3-year process since then. We've sold out every single show. We've had incremental and massive growth on our social media. And yeah, man, 2024 is already, we're coming off our last show, and we're still in for a very, very big year. And we're starting to get recognized as one of those major fight brands. And we're still just the DIY promotion from Plymouth. Nothing's really changed except for people are just now seeing what's going on in the hall, and they're starting to get it a little bit more. And yeah, if you don't know anything about me, I like to ramble and rant a bit. So,
No worries,
if you're listening
man.
to this podcast, expect a little bit of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I saw the highlights from this past week. I mean, it was awesome looking show. Guys got some great talent there. Hey, can you just talk a little about some of those marketing strategies that you look at when you're working with Cage Titans, and that you think have actually kind of impacted its growth and its viewership?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that Cage Titans has going for it that other brands probably don't is that there's a genuine human connection that comes across. You can tell that this is like, we're literally 3 yahoos in Massachusetts that just love fighting, love this promotion, are deeply invested in these fights. And it's something that when you're really into something, people naturally want to get into it with you. And with all these, I'm not saying anything bad about any other fight promotions, but when you see another fight promotion, you see a brand, you see the matchup cards, you may see the highlight, but you don't really feel anything for that because you don't know who's fighting in those things. So we really take the time to try to show who these guys are, show the humanity, tell the stories of why the stakes of these fights matter, and we don't treat them any lesser. And our motto's always been, hey, fighters and fans first. Mike Polvera, our head promoter, our founder, he was a fighter, and Cage Titans was birthed out of the fact that it's like, I was tired of promoters not paying me on time. I was not okay with the way I was being promoted. They weren't giving me any materials to help sell tickets or help me move up to the levels that I wanted to do or attract sponsors. And just generally, that was a practice that was pretty standard across the industry. Cage Titans said, no, we're going to make it very easy for guys to make money. We're going to promote them and invest in promoting them, and we're going to show that our fights have stakes, and they may only matter to us as Cage Titans fans, but that's who we do it for. We do it for the people that just love and rock with Cage Titans, and that's how you create this really, we have a community now that expands like so far beyond the actual staff of Cage Titans that we expect to see at every single show that contribute. And it's such a community vibe, and it fills voids in your life that you didn't even know you had. And yeah, man, I think that's really what we've been really forward on. It's like we know what we are, we're proud of who we are, and we're very proud to be different. We're not trying to be the UFC. We're not trying to be PFL or Bellator. We're trying to be the best Cage Titans we can be. And I think that's refreshing to a lot of people in combat sports, where everything is overproduced or trying to be too hard or too serious, where even sometimes we have the ability to make fun of ourselves when other promotions can't. Because one of our favorite things is just like kind of memeing ourselves. It's like, yeah, we know where we are on the totem pole, but guess what? Our fights are still just as good. Our show is still just as good. We know we rock.
Well, I mean, you guys have some awesome fighters in there too. I mean, just 2 guys I can think off the top of my head who I think are going to be in the UFC within like the next year and a half. Mitch Raposo, Michael Dufour. You guys have some like super quality. I've had both their coaches on, and I know those are both people that both teammates or team members that they're looking at and being like, hey, these are the next guys, and they're both under your promotion. I'm sure there are a lot more that I don't even know, but that's the type of quality of people you're working with. I mean, how do you like for people like that, and you're help trying to build up because they kind of build your brand up with them? Do you leverage any different type of like platforms, either like social media or digital platforms that you're looking at to help promote them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we try to do is, we have other means of promoting our guys. Like we use our podcast as our main means of we have a Monday night live stream called Table Titans, and it works like our MMA hour. We tell our news. We have our fighters come on for a series of interviews. We'll stack them up 4 high. Sometimes we'll do head-to-head interviews. But from that, what we're able to do is, okay, we have interviews and sound bites about this fight that we can use for promos, that we can cut up into quick content. And it goes beyond like, hey, here's a video of Mitch throwing a knockout punch, which is great. That'll get views. That'll be great. But now we also get to have Mitch's voice talk about like why this fight matters, and overlaying that and captioning and telling a story and getting people more invested in Mitch. Michael Dufort, I cannot say enough of good things about him. I loved working with him. I loved working with his team. And when I look about like things that I'm very proud of that I've worked on, was when he came to Cage Titans, he came in a show before when we signed him in, and we knew that he was coming from Montreal, and we were like, hey, could we maybe play that up? I mean, you're coming to New England. I mean, about the rivalry. It's like, oh, I know, I got something for you. He came out. You've seen this?
No, I haven't. I haven't. Well, it's funny because I hung out with him at the PFL Championship. He was there with the OAM, and we got some smashing some beers after OAM won.
Yep.
So no, I didn't see this, but I knew he was there. I knew he was on the card, so I'm curious to hear it.
So it was the card before, and it was to announce his fight. He came into the cage, and it's like Michael Dufort, and it's like nobody really knows who he is at this point. But he goes into his bag and he throws on a Montreal Canadiens jersey, and immediately the place just starts booing the crap out of him. He's playing it up like, yeah, come on. And sidebar, I told him, it's like, hey, when you're out there, could you work in a tabernacle? Just because, like I said, I come out of hockey. I've heard French Canadians use that all the time, and I think it's a great chirp. And nobody knows what it means, so it'll be even funnier. He goes out there, it's like, I'm going to own this city, tabernacle. And he's saying it to our champion who's wearing a Celtics jersey. And it's like, okay, we have a storyline. And what I loved about that more than anything is when we got those two together, and to promote that, we could play on so many different things, and we bursted out of the MMA bubble. Like hockey forums were following us. People in Canada, like all of MMA Canada was starting to pay attention to Cage Titans, just because it's like, we want to take your belt. I don't even like French Canadians, but I want him to take that belt from you guys. And of course it made the New England fans double down. It's like, no, our guy's going to keep our belt. Of course, Dufort ended up taking the belt, but the beauty of Cage Titans as well is through telling those stories and letting Dufort have platforms to go on interviews, to have a press conference, and do face-to-face. By the time he went out and he performed, that was the loudest boos I have ever heard in my life coming out of Cage. It was, you can go back and watch the video on our Instagram, but like my mic sounds like it's about to break. They're booing so loud at him. And he just goes out there, and then as soon as he finishes it, pin drop silence. Cannot hear a thing in that hall. It's unreal. And everybody left. It's like, what? Frenchie can fight. Holy wow, man. I want to see that guy again. Get him to the UFC or bring him back here, man. But that's the beauty of Cage Titans. So many guys out of town who are not even from New England are starting to find value in the promotion, because it's like, hey, these guys will give me a chance to kind of show who I am. If I go out there and I fight my fight and I put on, these fans are smart enough to know that, hey, that's a guy I want to watch fight. I want to see him fight this guy and that guy. And he's not from here, so I don't care if he's fighting my friends. I just want to see him fight that guy. And you start to create fan bases beyond just New England. And I think that's really helped our expansion over the last few times, because we've had guys from, of course, Canada. We've had France. We have 2 champions in Florida right now. So we're really starting to kind of like grow in a way that was just organic to us, because we wanted to give fighters more of a voice to show their personalities. And yeah, man, it's always worked. And it's something that you don't see a lot on the regional scenes, because not like boxing. This is something I learned when I worked in boxing and MMA at the same time. When you're in boxing and you're promoting a fighter and you have them in your promotion, you get a piece of that fighter in perpetuity. So when they go up to top rank, they go up to Matchroom, you get a piece of their person in perpetuity. So you're incentivized to get that kid to the top and making him as much money as you possibly can. In mixed martial arts, once that guy goes to the UFC or goes to another organization, he is a free agent. He is gone. You get nothing out of that investment. But what we feel is like, well, by making that investment, other fighters are going to see that and see the value in it and want to come compete with us. And The biggest barometer for our success is when these guys come in and afterwards, like we check with them. It's like, would you want to do this again? And they all say like, absolutely. I loved every second of this. Even guys who maybe not gone their way. It's like, let me run it back here again. I got to get a win here. I got to fight here again. And that's just what we like to hear.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, I think that's like one of the things I love talking regional promotions, because not everyone recognizes how important they are to the overall culture, right? It's really kind of like one of the most important parts of it. It's not like the G League or anything like that. It's its own thing in each region, and there's usually multiple promotions. And I like you highlighted some of the really kind of cool parts of it and some of the success, but you can just talk about some of the challenges that you face when marketing a regional sports promotion and how you've been overcoming them.
Yeah, one of my early mentors in this game, I've quoted this before, but Daniel Shoemaker, worked with him over at Showtime. He said something that just held on with me. It's like, hey man, fighting is the biggest thing in the world to us because we love it. It's the biggest thing. There's nothing bigger than the next fight or this matchup or this news that just broke. The reality is, it's a very small niche. Most people don't care. We're akin to NHL hockey, MLS soccer in terms of popularity at this moment. And when you're talking about regional MMA, that's an even smaller niche. So there's only so much that you can only realistically hope to grow. And we know we're never going to compete with the UFC. We know that we're never going to compete with PFL, but that's not our goal. Our goal is, look, if people can look at us in the same way that people look at Boston College hockey or Harvard football, or comparables to us would be like the New England Free Jacks, the rugby team, or the Boston Cannons, the lacrosse team. We know we're not the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, but we're a great night out. If you're an MMA fan and you're in New England, you should be coming to our shows, because if you're just sitting around waiting for the UFC, you're going to be waiting a year and a half to go see live MMA. And the beauty of regional MMA, and this is what we're really trying to foster, is that no, there's a community that you can be a part of. I'm sure you feel this in your own life, that the MMA guy, you're the guy that knows fights, and most people don't kind of get it. When you go to a regional MMA show, especially one like Cage Titans, you're around people that get it. They get you, they get why you love it. They want to talk about fights, they want to watch fights, and it's not like these inaccessible sports like the NFL or NHL where you go in an event and you're just watching them. No, you get to go and meet all of these fighters. You get to meet guys who are actively in the UFC and guys who are active coaches in this. And through that, you can make connections like, wait, where's your gym? Wait, I live maybe a couple miles from that. I can just come join. Yeah, you can literally go and join a gym with a UFC fighter, which is the equivalent of saying, oh, hey, you know what? I just signed up with the Boston Bruins. I skate around with them every Wednesday. Yeah, I'm just, taking shots from Marshawn, and, we just hang out, drink beers afterwards. That's what MMA offers people. And I don't think that a lot of fans are aware that they can just be a part of that. And, I'm sure there's fans in Connecticut that are listening. It's like, you can go join Glover Teixeira's gym and be doing rounds with Peloton by the end of the week. You probably should not be, but you could.
If you're smart, right? Yeah.
And you could also, it's just like somebody out of that gym is definitely going to be fighting at a Cage Titans card. Go to that fighter, buy his ticket, buy his t-shirt, get with the rest of your team. It's like, no, we're all going to go out. We're going to meet up. We're going to go to the Second Wind pregame bash, which is the brewery down there. We're going to get some beers there. We're going to get our seats. We're going to sit there. He's like the fifth fight on the card, but there's this fight and this fight that you got to check out. Check out the Instagram. You start to get into it and make people like, this is a fun part of your life. And we want more people to get involved in that way, because there's nothing wrong with just like watching the UFC on the weekends and checking on social media every now and then. But if you're a fan on any level, definitely get out to your regional MMA shows. They're not all Cage Titans, but I guarantee you, your life will be so much better when you start going to these shows. If you're a content creator like you, start your media platform, get your media passes there, because if you want to someday cover a UFC show or a PFL show, you got to start at the regional shows. That's where you go, and just like the fighters. So you build yourself up there as well. And like Cage Titan shows, it's like, hey, you could get there and realize, I think I could beat that guy if I train hard enough. Take a year, man. Take an amateur fight and get in there. You realize that it's possible. It's not impossible like it looks like on TV.
Yeah, man, you nailed it. And that's funny. That's how I even got into where I'm at today. I mean, I'm a longtime fan, but I trained at Easton Training Center, where Elevation Fight Team was training out of at the time too. So I got exposed to world-class athletes. Corey Sandhagen when he was in LFA, Alistair Overeem when he was training there, Drew Dober, all of those guys. I was Neil Magny. I was watching them on a day-to-day basis. I'm a Massachusetts guy originally, though. So when you were naming off all of those, I didn't even know that Massachusetts had a rugby team now, to be honest with you.
Oh, they just won the title last year, baby.
See, man, there you go. Like talking about like
Yeah.
marginalized sports, right? I'm curious because like how do you measure success? Because you've been at some organizations and with some programs that have been very successful, but how do you look at that from like a marketing initiative at Cage Titans?
Is the hall full? Are the fighters happy? And are the fans having a good time? That's been our biggest barometer, man. Honestly, we want people. One thing, like when I say it's like go out to your regional MMA show, it's like don't go and support. Support something you give like your little niece's piano recital. It's not going to be good, but you're doing it because you want to show that you love them. Like with Cage Titans, come out and get your money's worth. This is a great night out. It is fun as all hell, and we just want people to feel like they're going to get their money's worth because we know that these are not cheap tickets, and we know that going out anytime you're gambling, and we want to make sure that every person leaves that building saying I got every bit of my money's worth. I can't wait to go back to the next one. And as far as where we are right now, we've done that solidly for the last 3 years since coming back from pandemic, and we've just built this community show after show, and we just know how to hit our marks. Now we're just thinking about it's like, okay, how do we bring more people into what we're doing? Because I think a lot of people would not understand our expansion strategy or our growth strategy. We have plans to get very big, but we don't want to leave Plymouth. We want it to be so great that everybody wants to come to Plymouth and join in on what we're doing. It's like we want fighters to look at it. It's like, hey, before I get to the UFC, to get me to the UFC, I want to go take Cage Titans fights. I want that experience. I want that coverage. I want that shine. Guys who are maybe out of the UFC, it's like if I got to keep competing, let me go compete in the hall, man. That looks like a vibe. I know that they pay well. I know that it's going to be well promoted. I know I'm going to look good. They're going to treat me well. Get me on that card. And if you're a fan, like, and we know who we address, we're the hardcore fans promotion. If you're a hardcore MMA fan, on your bucket list should be like, I got to go to Plymouth for a fight week because it becomes fight town. Every bar is all about Cage Titans. They're showing it in every bar. There's Cage Titans beers and now seltzers everywhere.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was slam, dude. I had one after the show. It's a tall boy, and I definitely downed that thing as quickly as possible. It was so good. But you see that it's like this feels more like people make comparisons of like minor league sports, but we feel more like a college football program in my eyes. Our job is to take and recruit the best talent that we can find and develop them through our system so that when they get to the international and the highest levels, they're ready to roll. They're ready to, a lot of the guys that we do send up to higher levels, the biggest feedback that we get, it's like, these guys are so media trained. They know how everything goes. They're so smooth to work with. It's like, we've prepped them for all of this, that like being in front of big crowds, dealing with media and doing all this stuff. They've done this all already. Like they're well ready to get to that level. And that's because we care about these guys' experience and feeling like athletes while they're there. And when we're measuring our success, that's really where it comes from. It's like, do our fighters feel like we're putting them first? Do our fans feel like we're giving them a good show? And do our brand partners feel it's like, hey, do we get more out of this than we put into it? And definitely we can say yes, because from the amount of sales that we're doing right now from those beers, like I doubt you can find any of them left in New England. But if I can, I'll send you out again.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I mean, you've already been dropping some gold and like looking forward. What are some of the strategies that you're looking for, like ideas that you're looking to put into place, or even projects that you're excited to explore with Cage Titans?
Over the next year, we really want to do more with our brand partnerships. So we are a completely independent promotion. We have no outside investors. We have absolutely no major sponsors, really. We do this and we're still profitable every show and have increased profits year on year. So our big goal this year is like, how do we integrate more brands into what we're doing? Because we look at what we're doing. We have our full schedule of events. We're doing things that's closer related to a organized sports organization. Like we're talking about season ticket packages. We're talking about selling different ads all across the hall. Like the hall has always been bare, but now we realize it's like we can hang banners around here for multiple different brands. And when we look at our numbers, it's like, okay, over the course of a year, you're going to be in front of 10,000 people with live eyeballs locked in for about 8 hours, even more on the stream. And then when you take our social media numbers into account, where we reach 1 million people on social media every single fight night, that's an average metric for us now. We reach over 1 million people across all platforms. that type of value can help a lot of brands. And we want to start aligning those brands to get into Cage Titans so we can help sell their products, but also funnel that back to the fighters, because that can mean it's like, hey, we don't care if this guy sells 2 tickets. We're going to pay him a good purse and we're going to put together this badass fight because people want to see this fight. And we start removing some of the elements that kind of hinder regional MMAtions from making really big and popular fights or getting guys together, because it's usually financially motivated. If we can remove that and start using our means to better an experience for our fans, for our fighters, that's the best thing that we're looking to expand on. So brand partnerships and also merchandise. So weird thing about our merchandise, for a long time, Mike made it like Supreme or like Jordan's, where he created a false scarcity around them. He only sold them on fight night in the hall. If you did not buy them in the hall, then you could not get any of the designs. We twisted his arm this year and said, it's like, okay, what about the reprints? The stuff you get in the hall is an exclusive. Like we special, like this right here, I'm sorry to say, and we'll openly admit, if you order this one online in a few weeks, it's not going to be as nice as this one feels. It's not going to be as good as this one. And it's also going to be the one that was in the hall on the fight night when it actually happened. So we're creating 2 levels of different kind of merch. And we also want to see if we can get our brand, because we think it's very versatile and what we can do. We've shown that with the beer. Like we want to do a golf line. We want to do a kids line. We want to do training gear and start making Cage Titans a brand that is just bigger than a promotion, where it's like this is the hardcore fans fight brand. It's like, I really love MMA. I watch Cage Titans. Do you watch Cage Titans? If you don't watch Cage Titans, I'm sorry, dude. You're kind of casual in my eyes. That's where we want to get to.
Man, I gotta tell you, this is, in terms, I think you're gonna be episode 59, maybe some of the most gems and like ideas that anyone has given me. And that's why I love doing this type of thing. It's like getting this to other people too, helping spread this knowledge. No one who is anyone to be able to execute like you guys are, who knows? But in the end, it's all about elevating everyone else. High tides raise all ships. And so, yeah, man, this is awesome. I really appreciate taking the time tonight. I know this is your chill time, and you hopped away to do, still chilling. Got the Zen. Yeah, man, but you appreciate you doing this. Is there like anything else that anyone you want to give a shout out to, or anything you want to put on the radar for anyone who's listening?
So our next show is going to be March 30th. We don't have any fights announced for it yet, but I can already tell you from the names that we have lined up, it's going to be a really big one. Tickets are going to sell out fast, so definitely check that out. Definitely follow us on all social media platforms. If you're a fight fan, we give you something every day that you're going to be glad that you shot us a follow. I can just say that. And also just thank you to everybody over at Cage Titans, man. I mean, it's been the most rewarding work that I've ever done in my life and continue to do. I'm taking a big entrepreneurial risk with them this year and just going all in on Cage Titans. And I feel confident in doing so because, you know, Mike has put his trust in me in the last 3.5 years. Andy, our main ring announcer, commentator, and spirit animal, has put his trust in me, and he don't trust easy. And I know I got an amazing community that actually really appreciates what I do for them. The messages I get after shows from fans and fighters, like, I cannot say thank you enough for that, guys. Like I said, back in the day, I had dreams of being like a rock star and being an analyst, and now I'm just a dude. Like, I feel like I'm a behind the scenes guy. I'm not looking for any shine anymore. I love talking about the business with people like you and doing this thing, but I am absolutely humbled that you would ask me to do a podcast, that people like what I do, and that people are enjoying Cage Titans. So if you guys are still in on this one, that's all I got to say, man. All I got to say. I've had a whiskey. I'm sorry.
Well, us non-casuals are watching and taking heed, man. So thanks for being here, Nick. Much appreciated, man.
Much appreciated, Ryan. Have a good night.
You too.